I threw out my husband, his dinner after he abandoned it to eat at his mother, his house instead. Every single night my mother-in-law calls. Same time, same question. What are you two having for dinner? And every single time she follows it up by listing whatever elaborate meal she's cooking. Something better, something more impressive. If I say we're ordering pizza, she's roasting a prime rib. If I mention pasta, she's making some 5-course feast. It used to bother me. Now I just let her talk. But here's the real problem. My husband would ask me to cook dinner, I'd spend time and energy making it, and then he'd get that call and suddenly remember his mom was making his favorite meal. 10 minutes later, he'd be out the door. It became a pattern. I'd cook, she'd call, he'd leave. I stopped putting in effort after a while. Why bother? But yesterday I wanted to try again. I wanted to surprise him. I took time off work, went grocery shopping, and spent the afternoon making one of his actual favorite dishes. The kind he used to rave about when we first got married. I set the table. The food was still hot. I was proud of it. Then his phone rang. I looked at him. You don't have to answer that. He picked it up anyway. I heard her voice through the speaker, syrupy and performative. Hi, honey. What are you two eating tonight? He glanced at the table. She made that chicken dish I like. There was a pause. Then her tone shifted, all shocked and sweet. Oh, really? Well, that's nice. You know what? I just finished making that other dish. The one you always say is your favorite. Why don't you come over? It's ready now. I watched his face. I knew what was coming. Okay, Mom. I'll be there in a few. He stood up. I stared at him. Seriously? He was already heading toward the bedroom to grab his jacket. No offense, but that meal she made, it's even more of a favorite than this one. He grabbed his keys, and he left. I sat there at the table, staring at his untouched plate. The food I'd taken time off work to make. The effort I'd put in because I thought maybe this time would be different. I picked up his plate and scraped it into the trash. Then I sat down and ate my portion alone. I was washing my dish when I heard the front door open. He walked in fast, face tight with frustration. She lied, he said, tossing his keys on the counter. She didn't even make that dish. She just wanted me to come over and eat with her. She made something completely different. I turned off the sink. Okay. He sat down at the table and looked at me expectantly. So go ahead and reheat my plate. I'm starving. I dried my hands on the towel. There's no plate to reheat. He blinked. What? I threw it out. His jaw dropped. You what? I threw it out. I repeated. You left. You chose her dinner over mine, so I got rid of it. His face went red. Are you serious right now? You actually threw away the food? You disrespected my time and effort, I said calmly. You walked out on the meal I made for you because your mom dangled something shinier in front of you. So yeah, I threw it out. He stood up, voice rising. That is petty. That is horrible. Do you understand how messed up that is? I didn't flinch. Do you understand how messed up it is to do this to me every single time? She tricked me, he shouted. I didn't know she was lying. And I didn't know you'd pick her imaginary meal over the real one I spent hours making. He paced the kitchen, hands in his hair. What you did is 100 times worse than what she did. You threw away food just to prove a point. I threw away food that you abandoned. He stared at me like I was a stranger. Then he turned and stormed upstairs. I heard the bedroom door slam. I stood there in the quiet kitchen, dish towel still in my hand, and I didn't feel guilty. I felt done. Later that night, I sat on the couch and thought about all the times I'd swallowed my frustration, all the times I'd smiled and said it was fine when he chose her over me, all the times I'd convinced myself it was just about food, that it didn't mean anything deeper, but it did mean something. It meant I wasn't a priority. It meant my effort didn't matter. It meant his mother could snap her fingers and he'd come running, and I'd just be expected to wait. I wasn't waiting anymore. The next morning, he was still giving me the silent treatment. Fine, I didn't push it. He wanted space, he could have it. But I also started planning. I pulled up a few therapist websites. I saved a list of couples counselors. He'd always brushed off the idea before, said we didn't need it, but we clearly did. And if he refused again, that would tell me everything I needed to know. I wasn't going to keep living like this. I wasn't going to keep being the person he left behind for his mother's approval. I wasn't asking for much, just respect, just presence, just the basic acknowledgement that I mattered. If he couldn't give me that, then I'd have to decide what came next. But one thing was certain. I wasn't throwing out any more dinners.